Good morning, and we're in chapter 24, and Balaam is still with Balak, and they have sacrificed a third time. But look what Balaam does this way, and this puts Balaam in a pretty good light here. But as we saw who Balaam was, what he does doesn't put him in a good light in the end. And when Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel, he went not as at other times to seek for enchantments, but he set his face toward the wilderness. So before he'd say, okay, you sacrifice, I'll go off and do this and get the word of the Lord and come, he's saying, wait, I've already given the word of the Lord, and this is what it is. So he now reiterates what he said to him before. And Balaam lifted up his eyes, and he saw Israel abiding in his tents according to their tribes. And the Spirit of God came upon him, and he took up his parable and said, Balaam, son of Beor, has said, and the man whose eyes are open hath said, he hath said, which heard the words of God, which saw the vision of the mighty falling into a trance, having his eyes open. He's basically saying, I've already said all this, but here we go again. How goodly are thy tents, O Jacob, thy tabernacles, O Israel. Notice this is a repeat of what he said in the other previous times, but almost in this wonderful poetry, almost, or prose, altogether. As the valleys are spread forth, as the gardens by the river's side, as the trees of line aloes, which the Lord hath planted, and as the cedars beside the waters, he shall pour the water out of his buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters, and his king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. God brought him forth, this is talking about Israel, out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of an unicorn. Remember, he mentioned that yesterday. He hath eaten up the nations of his enemies, and shall break their bones and pierce them through with arrows. He's making it very clear what's going to happen. And he lay down as a lion, as a great lion, and shall stir him up. And blessed is he that blesseth thee, and cursed is he that curseth thee. Again, he's letting him know that Israel is blessed, and he can't do otherwise. And Balak's anger was kindled against Balaam, and he smote his hands together. And Balak said unto Balaam, I called thee to curse mine enemies, and behold, thou hast altogether blessed them these 3 times. Well, shouldn't they get that? Understand? He doesn't get the point that if he's going to bless him, then maybe the Lord isn't just doing what he is told to do. He is doing what they should be doing. Wherefore, flee thou thy place. I thought to promote thee unto great honor, but lo, the Lord hath kept thee back from honor. And I put a note here. The king of Moab thinks his earthly gift is better than God's gifts. He will not accept the word of the Lord. Remember that often we'll think of it as you'll see people turn to the earthly things that they have rather than to God. And we need to remember that God's gifts are always better, even if they don't seem it at first. Wandering in the wilderness for 40 years is not something that is the funnest. And Balaam said unto Balak, Speak I not not also to thy messengers which thou sentest me, saying, If Balak would give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the commandment of the Lord, to do either good or bad of mine own mind. But what the Lord saith, that will I speak. He's saying, I told you at the beginning this would happen. I can't just say things and it happens. It's not my power that's given it. And I love the fact that the Lord is actually, or that Balaam is actually just saying, it's not my power. I don't curse and bless people just because I can curse and bless people. It's because of the Lord. And he took up his parable and said, Balaam the son of Beor has said that, and the man whose eyes are open hath said, he hath said, which heard the words of God, and knew the knowledge of the Most High, which saw the vision of the Almighty, falling into a trance, but having his eyes open. I shall see him, but not now. Now, if you look at that, it just tells us that he is coming, but his coming was to be in the future, not long after Moses' time. In other words, I shall see him, but not in this life. In a way, I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Seth. And Edom shall be a possession, Seir shall also be a possession for his enemies, and Israel shall do valiantly. Out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion, and shall destroy him that remaineth of a city. And notice what happens here. He goes through all the people, and again, this is stuff that they should know, but they don't listen. When he look on Amalek, I guess what they hear is, oh, well, we'll be destroyed, not, oh, the Lord is not happy with what we're doing. And he looked on Amalek, and he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of nations, but his latter shall be that he perish forever. He looketh on the Canaanites, and took up his parable and said, Strong is thy dwelling place, and thou puttest thy nest in a rock. Nevertheless the Canaanite shall be wasted unto Ashur, and shall carry thee away captive. And he took up the parable and said, Alas, who shall live when God doeth this? And the ship shall come from the coast of Shittim, and shall afflict Ashur, and shall afflict Eber, and he shall perish forever. Balaam rose up and went and returned to his place, and Balak also went to his way. If we end it there, Balaam is just doing what the Lord wants him to do. Even though he kind of took a while and wasn't following everything that he should do, he did what the Lord said to do, and he blessed Israel and cursed these other nations. And that's probably why it's here in the Bible, is because of how it's written. And if that was all, if he would have just stayed his place in the first place, it still would have worked out the same way, except for the fact that if these nations had listened and said, hey, wait, we should be following the Lord, it'd make a big difference. But they don't do that. And if it ended there, but we find out, as we said it when we're reading about who Balaam was, we see that not only did he prophesy, but he told them, well, what if you just make them not worship their God? Let's forget the fact that God is God and he's the God of the whole world. Let's get them to do something wicked. Oh, let them do what you guys are doing already. You know, that'll make them not be. They'll be easier to conquer that way, and that all happens. So I don't know that we cover all that in this, but that is what Balaam ends up doing. And if he had just stayed and just left and went to his way and nothing else, that would have been fine. But we find that he tells them, yeah, their strength is in their God, and if they don't have their God, then they fall, and they know about that. So that is the story of Balaam, and I hope we learn things that we can do better in following God. And we'll see you tomorrow.